Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. I'd like to welcome you, dear viewers, to another in our series, The Forces of Evil. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah's peace and blessings be on each and every one of you. Now, dear viewers, in our previous segments, we looked at the elements of evil, the concept of evil itself in our world. How do we reconcile it with a good God? Then we looked at Satan, satanic forces, where evil came about, why they're around, their purpose, and the way in which they operated in the past, their influence over Adam, etc., Adam and Eve. And we pointed out the greater good, which overrides all of this, and for which whatever evil we see in Allah's creation is there for. This is what it's for. They're not evil in and of themselves, or they're not, the evil which comes from them is not what they were created for, but for the good which would ultimately come by their influence on human beings. We said in the very beginning that we only know good when we know evil. It's necessary for us to know the evil to understand and to comprehend the good. In this segment now we begin to look at the battlefield, this world of ours, in which the satanic forces are waging a spiritual war against belief, against the believers. How is that war taking place? Well, first and foremost, in Surah Al-Isra, verse 53, Allah tells us, إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ كَانَ لِلْإِنسَانِ عَدُوًّا مُبِينًا. Indeed, Satan is, for humans, a clear enemy. This is the bottom line. Satan and the satanic forces represent clear enmity to human beings, not to take Satan as a friend. And we understand in the first place that the disobedience of Adam and Eve was a result of Satan's coming to them and tricking them, whispering to them in their times of forgetting God, and promising them. وَقَاسَمَهُمَا إِنِّي لَكُمَا لَمِنَ النَّاصِحِينَ. 7th chapter, verse 21. Allah says there, and He swore to them, to both of them, to Adam and Eve, I am indeed for you a good advisor. He presents Himself in this way. But he played on their desires. As we spoke about earlier, the issue of desires. And this is where Satan tends to work. He played on their desires and offered them something which they thought they didn't have, or they thought they would like to have, etc. Saying to them, وَمَا نَهَاكُمَا عَنْ هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ إِلَّا أن تكون ملكين أو ملكين أو تكون من الخالدين. That Allah only prohibited you from this tree that you would not become rulers having a dominion over this world, or that you become eternal, the desire to want to possess and to live long. These are desires which remain in human beings to the last breath that they take. The pharaohs embalming the bodies. Today people freezing bodies and heads and putting them in caskets, thinking that in time they can unfreeze them and bring themselves back to life again. The desire to live forever is forever with us. And we find that after Adam and Eve were sent out of heaven and to the earth, we find that Satan came back to them there, trying to keep them off the path. And he warned them and put fear in their hearts about what would be the consequence of Eve's pregnancy. When Eve got pregnant, and this is something new to them, they didn't know what it would produce. So Satan came to them and suggested to them that it's quite possible that Eve was going to give birth to something horrible, like a cow or a dog or something like this. That if they wanted to ensure that they get a child which looked like themselves, that they should name the child Abdul Harith. No, they refused to accept this, because one of the names of Satan was also Harith. Abd meaning a slave and worshipper of Harith. So they refused. And the child died. They didn't give birth initially. Child died, stillbirth, whatever, premature birth. When Eve got pregnant again, Satan again came to them presenting these fears and worries of what they're going to give birth to, and offered them the same solution. Again, they refused. And this was repeated a number of times until finally Adam and Eve decided, okay, we can't seem to give birth, we better go with this. And they went with it, and they got a child, and they named the child Abdul Harith, as he had requested. This became a form of shirk, that is, worshipping others than Allah, in naming. That is, giving a name which is unsuitable, a name which implies the worship of other than Allah, though they themselves did not worship other than Allah. But he got them to make this error, playing on what? Their fears. In the first instant in paradise, offering them what? Eternal life and power. Then on earth, fears of the child, what would happen to the children. Then he came to their children, Cain and Abel, or Qabil and Habil. When Allah accepted the sacrifice of his brother and didn't accept his, he whispered to him that to kill his brother so that he would be the one to have his sacrifices accepted, he would win the love of his parents or whatever. And that led to the first major crime of murder. And this has become, of course, amongst human beings, a trial, and will remain amongst us until the last day. Now, what we can see from this progression here is that there is an element, an emotional element, which has played a great role in the first sin in the heavens, as well as the first major sin on earth. That is jealousy. Iblis, or Satan, jealous of Adam, because Allah has given him that status which he hasn't given himself. He rejects it and disobeys God, because he feels he's better than Adam. This is jealousy, which leads to pride. These are major evils. Similarly, on earth, in the case of Cain and Abel, Qabil and Habil, we find again jealousy. Qabil jealous, Cain jealous of his brother Abel, because Allah has accepted his sacrifice. This leads him, with the prompting of Satan, to commit this major error. And because of it, Prophet ﷺ had said, for every soul killed unjustly, the first son of Adam carries a portion of sin, for the blood spilled because he was the first to murder. Now, though we said that people don't carry the sins of others, if we begin an evil way, then all those who follow us, we carry a portion of their sin. Not that we relieve them of it. They carry their sin, but we also carry a portion because we are the ones who guided them to it. Just as if we do good, we start a good way, those people who follow that good way, we also gain a portion of the reward from it. So it works on both sides. Now on earth, as we said, it was the jealousy of Cain which led to the killing of his brother. So it's very important for us to be aware of this fundamental evil emotion, that of jealousy. When it is not in an area which has been prescribed by God, where jealousy is left to function or to guide us, we become a slave to it, then it creates all kinds of evils. Whether it is jealousy in material things, people develop what they call the Joneses concepts, imitating and wanting to keeping up with our neighbors. We see our neighbor buy something new, we want something like it. We see anybody has it, we want something like it. This jealousy, desiring to have for oneself what everybody else has, creates this jealousy. Jealousy can cause that person then to commit evil because of it. They may steal or kill or whatever to have these things. Very dangerous. And the pride, where a person, in a response to jealousy, develops an attitude where they feel they're better than others. They look down on others. They deny the good of others. These are very evil emotions that we have to be beware of. We have to learn from that initial struggle which took place in the heavens and on earth between our foreparents, Adam and Eve, and the evil one, Satan. Now, we'll begin to look at the methods by which Satan promotes evil. We can see something of it in these early encounters, whether it was in the heavens or whether it was on earth. In these early encounters between Adam and Eve and Satan, his children, their children, and Satan. Elements of jealousy, pride, elements of doubts and fears. These form the general elements which Satan plays on throughout our lives. Now, we can identify the first major area as that of the creating of doubts. Tashkik. Satanic forces work amongst us in misguiding, in causing people to disobey God, etc., by working on or playing on the doubts that human beings may have. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had said that Satan will come to one of us and say, "Who created the heavens?" And we'll say, "Allah." And he will go on to say, "And who created the earth?" And we'll agree and say, "Allah." Who created the trees? Allah. And then he will say to us, "And who created Allah?" This is the attempt to put that doubt in our minds. That when we have this, we seek refuge in Allah from Satan and carry on, stop that thought, carry on in our lives wherever we are headed. And we can see that when we look at the world today, the most powerful civilization around us, Western civilization, it is fundamentally a materialist civilization, one in which God has been denied. God's existence has been denied. It is a secular civilization, one in which God and things connected to God has been removed. And in its place, materials become the most important thing. People focus on wealth, money, success. All of these things become the focus of our lives. Things which we seek to find happiness from, which in fact really don't give us the happiness. It gives us maybe temporary happiness, but not real happiness. But these have become the focus as God has been taken out of our lives. And as a result, the whole systems of morality have been undermined and destroyed, where corruption now is the order of the day. That materialist society promotes corruption because it's a source of pleasure. How to enjoy? We enjoy through accumulation of material things. So this is the first area in which Satan comes. There is no God. We're here by evolution. The evolutionary process explains how we're here. The Big Bang. But if we think about it, what is the Big Bang? An explosion of matter. An explosion of matter. If one were to drop an atomic bomb in a junkyard, could that explosion create a car or a refrigerator or a toaster? Could it? Or even a spoon? No. Such an explosion, devastating explosion, it creates chaos. It doesn't create harmony. So though the Big Bang and the factors of the Big Bang seem to be very real to us, that Big Bang was planned. God, if the Big Bang actually took place, already planned where it was going before it took place. Every atom, every molecule, everything that expanded already was assigned a place to be. That's why we have the earth, the right distance from the sun, properly tilted, turning at the correct pace, that life could be produced here. Without all those factors being already in place, then we would end up like any of the other planets around the earth, not being able to sustain life. So, dear viewers, the first area is that of doubts. We're going to be looking at other doubts in our coming segments, but the primary doubt is the doubt about God's existence itself. And those who have fallen at this point have lost the meaning of life. With that, dear viewers, I'd like to thank you for being with us in this segment of our program, The Forces of Evil, in which we seek to understand these forces in order to attain for ourselves the greater good. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.